Whether you're an ardent opera lover or you're completely new to it, there's nothing like experiencing the Santa Fe Opera in Santa Fe, New Mexico. From the productions to the venue itself to the surrounding setting, it's all part and parcel of something very unique and special. I'm Courtney Drake McDonough, and we have a special double duty podcast episode today, combining the In Good Taste Denver podcast with the Real Food Traveler podcast. And my guest, Kalob Martinez, who is the Advertising and Business Relations Manager for the Santa Fe Opera. Kalob joins me to talk about the 2026 season, what's so different about attending an opera there, and ways to get the most out of the experience. Welcome, Kalob, and thanks for joining me.
Hey, Courtney, thanks for having me.
Definitely. So let's start with what the range of dates is for this season at the Santa Fe Opera.
Yeah, this season we open on July 3rd and we close on August 29th. So the way each season works, not just this season, we open our first two that first weekend. So Madama Butterfly will open on July 3rd and the Magic Flute will open on July 4th. Then we go through a few weeks where, well, not that many, actually, a couple of weeks where those two run. So then they can tech the next show. So then we have opening number three, um, not the next Saturday, but the Saturday after that. Opening number four is a week from that one. Opening number five is a week from that one. So once all five are open, when we get into August, our first 3 weeks of August, you can see a different opera every night, 5 nights in a row.
Wow, that's so interesting how you stage it out. That's really interesting. And you mentioned a couple of the operas, but go ahead and tell us what the various productions are this year.
Oh yeah, so opening number three will be Onegin. Opening number four will be Rosalinda, and opening number five will be the U.S. premiere of Lily Elba, which made its world premiere in 2024 in Switzerland.
I've heard of some of those. I haven't heard of others, and certainly not the new premiere. Can you give us a little description of each one?
Oh yeah, yeah, of course. So our first opening, Madama Butterfly, it's Puccini. It's probably one of the most famous operas out there. And it explores ever since I guess ever since its premiere and in different iterations, it's always kind of explored the relationship between people, but also between imperialism, right? So it's about a young Japanese girl who falls for an American naval officer, and at the time there was kind of this thing where an American officer would be stationed in Japan. They would take a wife while they were there, and then whenever he was done being there, he would leave. That would be the end of the relationship. Well, she didn't quite understand that. And he comes back later on. She's had his son, and he's remarried. And so there's the idea that his son will come and live with him. And in doing so, with the relationship, she kind of turns her back on her own culture and her own family. So she's been disowned. So she's kind of left alone. And so the way we say it is that in the end, she takes destiny in her own hands. And the outcome of that lingers long after that final note. Yeah. Our second opening, the Magic Flute, made it, it's Mozart, made its premiere. I'm trying to remember the exact date, the late 1700s in Vienna. And at the time, it was written in German to be the vernacular of the Viennese audience that would see it, which was kind of a departure um, at that time. And so this is a new production, and it's also a new English adaptation. So it's kind of like taking that same idea of bringing it to the people. So it's sung in English, and the subject is in the title. There's a magic flute that can tame wild beasts. And Prince Tamino and Papageno are armed with this magic flute, and they're trying to save the princess. And they embark on a quest. And on the way, they encounter enchanting characters and face daring trials. And they also encounter the mother of the princess, the queen of the night. Which we all, even if you don't know the music per se, you've definitely heard that music. Our third opening, Eugene Onegin. We actually did this production in 2021, so it's a restaging of this production. It's a Tchaikovsky piece, and it's based on a novel that was pretty popular at the time. And it's about rejection, and it's about sort of like changing your mind too late, I guess, right? And it's about trying, wishing that you could go back or trying to go back and right your wrongs. Um, but it's just it's too late. It can't happen. So there's longing, and there's passion, and there's a duel, and there's some beautiful masks in this production. One big thing, in 2021, we were still operating under some pretty strict protocols in regards to COVID. And so we are now having the ability to fold the chorus into the staging of the production. At that time, due to the restrictions, the chorus was not on stage with the principals. They were actually off stage to house right in I guess what do you call, like, bleachers, and they sung off stage. So this will allow for those costumes that have been designed to be built and them to be folded into that staging. So if you saw in 21, you'll get to see this production new again, practically. It is a very beautiful production. And then our fourth opening is Rosalinda, and it is about Queen Rosalinda, who is kind of not trapped, but she's found herself involved in this dangerous kind of political web. She's trying to protect her throne and her family and the love of her husband, who she believes is dead. And this production is kind of combining what the director calls like gangster film noir look to it. So it is darker, and it yeah, it's about passion and ambition and love and redemption. And our fifth opening is Lily Elba. It is a US premiere. It is about Lily Elba, who was a Danish painter 100 or so years ago, who, through her own journey of self discovery, um, has decided that she wants to live her life as a woman. And through the support of her wife, Gerda, who is also a painter, she undergoes gender affirmation surgery. And it's a true story of how that all happened. And it has taken her own writing from that time period to adapt and create this piece. Um, and that'll round out the season. Yeah, those 5 shows.
Wow, thank you for the I mean, that's a lot more detailed than I expected from you, and I'm so glad you did because I was
Yeah,
just
sorry, thanks.
wrapped up in all of that. They all sound amazing, and bravo Santa Fe Opera for not being afraid to take on some challenging topics, from Madame Butterfly to Lily Alba, and everything in between. So that's wonderful. So, for those who've not experienced an opera performance at Santa Fe Opera, first let's talk about what's so unique about the venue itself, because it is far more than just a building in which you go to hear opera.
Right, we have an open air theater. Our space is open on 3 sides. Uh, I like to say that the sunset and the weather are kind of the other characters that you don't think about, that end up becoming a part of whatever story that you're going to see. So each show does begin at or near sunset. So our shows in July begin at 8:30, and as the sun sets earlier, beginning in August, those shows will begin at 8. Um, Eugene Onegin, only because I saw it back in 21, utilizes uh, the outdoor space with the set design itself. And many productions do this because the back wall of our stage opens and you can see the nature that is behind the stage itself. Um, the stage was built and has remained in the same place, even though there have been a couple of different iterations of the theater itself since we began in 1957. Um, it has remained, even though it's been rebuilt a couple of times, like I said, within the same place. Because the founder, John Crosby, when was he was looking for the site in which to build the theater, and this is one of my favorite stories about the founding. He goes out on horseback, and rides with an audiologist who is there listening, and they fire a pistol in the air and they listen to the sound and measure the sound, and they chose that site because it sits within a natural bowl. So behind the stage, the scenery itself or goes down and then back up. So there's kind of a natural acoustics that are built into the land that have been then, um, I don't know, made even better by the acoustics built into the theater itself. So the voices that you're hearing are not amplified, they're not mic'd. This is the raw, natural sound that the body is creating that we are then hearing. Um, and I think that that's wonderful. That's I think that's what's so beautiful about opera, and is that it's meant to be heard that way. You know, it's meant for those sounds being created by humans to hit our ear, without any sort of um, electronic help, right? Um, and you can see the landscape to either side when you are sitting in the audience. So you can see the sun going down, or the clouds and the storm rolling in, or the lightning at a distance. Uh, or you can hear the coyotes howling. Um, a few seasons ago, we did a production where there was a witch, right? She was making a potion, and the night that I saw that show, as she was singing the song, which was the spell, there could be coyotes in the distance. Nature was helping. It was pretty cool. Um, or another time I remember sitting in the audience for the orchestra dress of The Flying Dutchman, and at the moment when there was a storm in the story, a small storm blew through, and they don't stop. Even when there's rain, they don't stop. They keep going. So it's important to keep that in mind. Bring a jacket or a light sweater or an umbrella even. Make sure you check out the weather report ahead of time so you can be prepared. Yeah, and that's what makes it so special.
Yeah, because if you're sitting on the sides, you can get
Yeah, that's where I
rained
was.
on
Yeah, when
a
it
little
blew
bit.
in, I was right on the side. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it definitely can. Yeah. So keep that in mind. And it's okay. It doesn't stay long. It goes by quickly and we're dry. And because we're in a dry climate, yeah, you dry off pretty quickly too.
It's all part of it. I've seen La Boheme and Carmen there, and I can't remember which one in which these happened, but with one, the sun set, and there was this audible oh from the audience, and it was just perfect. And then with the other one, a storm hit at exactly the right moment in the story. And, and it did start raining, and we weren't getting like soaked or anything, but we were getting misted on, and nobody cared. Like nobody
Yeah.
cared. It was all part and parcel. So that's why I say there is nothing else like it. Now I'd like to talk about the performances themselves and you talked a little bit about how you take advantage of that setting, but can you also talk about the quality of some of the performers and the productions you choose and how you interpret them differently? Because sometimes, you put them in a completely different era than they were intended for, which puts them in a whole new light, puts a whole new spin on it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, no, that depends on whoever the director is. Yeah, the directors that are chosen, they make that happen. Two great examples of that this season in particular. The Magic Flute, again, it's a new production, it's an English translation, but the directors themselves are placing it within the realm of the British panto. So if you know about theater and kind of how panto, not the same thing as pantomimes or miming, but more closely related to commedia dell'arte and sort of how that is a form of theater that is even practiced today in the UK. It's very popular, especially with comedies. But what happens a lot with these pantos is that they combine elements of fairy tale within their own story. Or they will take a fairy tale, which is very familiar to us, but then fold in modern things, modern jokes. Um, and so that's a great example. Rosalinda is another good example of this, where it's not being placed within the setting in which it was intentionally written, right? And so we're kind of placing other things on top of it. So rather than making about a kingdom and kings and queens, have kind of made it about the criminal underworld, and that's why there's like this gangster noir quality to it all. So it, and those are two great examples that I can think of, where the director has had a vision and placed that vision, and it worked. I think it works quite well. But yeah, you're right. It does give it a new spin, breathes new life into something that has been around for a while, and reimagines it in a way, um, that we have a different entry point to it, that we understand these stories and this music in a different way that we may not have thought of,
Hmm.
right, on our own.
Hmm. Some of the behind the scenes things, kind of a big picture look. What's the process for producing a given season, from when decisions are made to recruiting talent. And I thought it was interesting that you said the directors you've brought in. I didn't think about that. I just assumed it was the same kind of like staff directors, but it sounds like you bring different people in from the outside.
That's right. Yeah, no, we don't have staff directors. Um, Directors are hired and contracted, right? So let's say our general director sees a production somewhere in Germany or in Europe and likes the production, likes the director. We'll ask them, hey, we want to bring you to Santa Fe. Is there anything that you have been wanting to do? Or another way of going about it is entering into co-productions with other opera companies from around the world, knowing that perhaps a show will premiere at one company, then come here, or make its premiere here and go over to their company. Um, and then sort of the arrangements are made of, okay, who is building what, and how are we going about doing that. So I would say that that process, it could be anywhere to, in the very beginning, imagining what can happen 3 to 5 years from now, right? So like the season that we're presenting now, in many ways these agreements were made 3 to 5 years ago, and we have already announced our 2027 season. So then that means that all of those arrangements and agreements, where the majority of them have already been made. And so what happens is that each production team will then have their initial production design that they will present to our staff production people. So who we do have on staff, we have props, the scenic elements, and the costumes are here on staff year round. And what they're doing is they're working along with those departments and trying to figure out what it is that needs to be built, what needs to be bought, what is shared. All of those agreements are made. So when those initial design presentations are given, they have the opportunity to go back to that design team, which is not in house, which is contracted, to say, okay, this will work, but these ideas perhaps won't work, because they have to think of it as the 5 show season, and and knowing that even though we're planning these years in advance, currently on campus, this season is being built now with the intention of meeting those opening night dates. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah,
you're always considering the variety too,
right.
as well as not having shows that are too similar to each other season back to back seasons, it sounds like.
Yeah, so thinking about the variety, thinking about, okay, this has name recognition, so we'll put those early. The things that are less known will be placed later in the season, and will probably have fewer performances, right? They'll have the lesser knowns will have 5 or 6 total performances. The ones that are better known will have 11 or 12 performances throughout the season.
So are like of the five this year,
Uh-huh.
is it a completely separate, I'm not using the right terminology probably, but crew, like the performers, or do they inter,
Do they
are they
overlap
doing
in
more
any
than one
way?
opera?
Sometimes it
Huh,
depends. Many times, though, the principals are only playing the principal in that particular show.
that makes
Where
sense.
we will see the overlap is through the apprentice singers, and so the apprentice singer program is as has been around as long as the opera itself. So it was began in 1957 as well. And it kind of changed, well, it kind of is wrong. It did change the way opera singers were trained. Back in the late 50s, if someone wanted to become an opera singer and you were an American, you had to go to Europe and go through those houses and processes and all of that stuff. The apprentice program for singers began in 1957 and has continued to today. So we have, I don't want to get this wrong, 40 ish singers. I don't want to say an exact number this season and each season. So around 40 apprentice singers will come. Now, those singers will be the ones that would overlap. They'll either be the chorus, they'll either be named roles, and they could be in two or three of the shows. Very seldom would they be in all five. So, in addition to those duties, they will also have, you know, um, I don't want to call it tutoring, but they will have one-on-one classes where they're working on, um, different songs. They are working on pronunciation of words, especially in different languages, especially if we're doing, let's say we're doing, they're singing one show in Italian and then another show that they're singing is in Czech, right? We want to make sure that they're getting those vowel sounds correctly. So they'll go through those trainings as well, those one on one sessions throughout the day. And of course, they have to go through fittings in the costume shop and all of those things. So they have a pretty packed schedule from the time that they're here practically until the time that they leave. And that apprentice program is 2 summers. So they have the opportunity to come here and do that for 2 summers. And then within that, in August, we have the showcase for these singers. So then producers and agents and everyone within the entire globe of opera will come here to see them. And then many times, singers will be given contracts to go sing in other places from the showcases themselves. Um, it's a way for them to bridge the gap between going through training into becoming a professional opera singer.
Mhm. Yeah, I can't remember her name, but I was at a concert in Salt Lake City earlier this year, and it was an orchestra concert, but there was a part where there was a singer, and this woman came out and she was phenomenal. And so I looked her up because I thought, who is this woman? And she had been an apprentice at Santa Fe Opera, and then she had returned another season, another like years later as one of the corps. So she wasn't an apprentice anymore, and she has since performed all over the world. And here she was, in Salt Lake performing, and she lives there. And it kind of did my heart good to, see that tie between Salt Lake and Santa Fe and, how far she'd come. So she was a great success story. I wish I could remember her name, but
Well, that happens often, right? Well, they will go through the 2 year apprentice years. Maybe in the second year, they'll have a named role. Maybe they don't even do the second year. Maybe they do the first year and then the next year they're a principal. I mean, all sorts of things can happen. And then many times, you're right, they will have their apprentice years here, they will leave, and then they will be brought back to sing principal roles. It
mhm.
happens very often. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any performers in particular who have a really awesome story that you can think of off the top?
Oh man, I mean there are so many, right? Because even people who let's say who aren't necessarily apprentices, but let's say that they're opera singers themselves who are her going through it, the opera trenches, who then will make their role debut here, and then will then sing the same role at the Met, or anywhere else in the world. It happens a lot. I bet you could Google and you would get a whole list. I don't want to leave anybody out. But like I said, I mean, it's happened quite a bit. It really is. And there's a reason why it's so competitive. I would say, from what I understand in talking to the people who have run the apprentice program for singers in the past, when those applications become due, they will have 1,200, 1,400 people apply. They will see 200 singers in person audition, and that is from there boiled down to the 40 who are invited.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Very
And
interesting.
the same thing works out not just for the apprentice program for singers, but the apprentice program for technicians. There are so many people who have come through here, the apprentice program for technicians, who are Tony Award winning, Academy Award winning costume designers, scenic designers. You can't go to I can easily say this. You cannot go to a regional Lort theater in this country and not find at least one person on the production staff who spent one summer at least with us as a technician apprentice,
Hmm.
whether it's in props, costumes, scenic. Yeah. I mean, it goes that way too. Um, so really, it's a training ground and a launch pad for singers, but also for designers.
Wow. I'm so glad you brought that up because I did not know that and I hadn't even thought of that. But yeah, it makes sense.
No, I have to bring it up. My wife runs the costume department, so
Ah.
I
Yeah,
can't
you'd
leave
get in
them
trouble.
out. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Well, let's
Yeah.
talk about the guest now, the patron. Do do you have to know about opera to enjoy it?
No, you don't have to know a thing. That's what's so great about it. So let's say, you just say, hey, I think the magic flute sounds like fun. I want to see that. I've never seen it. I can't recall any of the music from that. So what you can do is you buy your ticket, and with that ticket, you have the opportunity to attend a pre-show talk on that night. We have two of them. We have one that's 2 hours before curtain. So let's say it's an 8:30 show. There's one at 6:30, or there's one at 7:30. And you get a chance to hear about the production, about the history, about the director's vision, and kind of like placing it in a historical context or a context within music. Um, our program book. I don't have you've seen our program book. I'm super proud of it. It's 160 pages.
Wow.
It's like you get a small coffee table book for free. And within the program book, we have articles written about each production. And there are on the side within each article, they're like what to listen for. So let's say you're not a I don't know, musically minded, but you can read from an expert what are things to listen for? What were they trying to say with this music? And then when you hear something in the beginning of the piece where it's brought back later, what was the intention of the composer? That's cool. The other thing, and this is I would say this makes us stand out from so many. I don't know you talked about going and attending opera. Many times when you attend an opera, they will have the subtitles projected above the stage or next to the stage. In our theater, every seat has a screen in front of it, and it's called the electronic libretto system. And in real time, it's not word for word, but in real time, it is translating so you can, and it's within your line of sight. So you don't have to look away from the stage, kind of just glance at it, and it will translate what is being said. And you have the ability to see those translations in English or in Spanish.
That's cool. I will say, and
Yeah.
this is not a knock to opera, but opera can be repetitive. And so I've noticed, okay, if I'm seeing that they're saying the same three lines over and over again during this section, I'm like, okay, got the message. I can focus on what's happening on the stage and then look back again to see what's being said. But so I thank you for reminding us that there is that there. So for people who haven't been to the opera before or haven't been much, so that they don't do the wrong thing and so they feel more comfortable, what if anything is the etiquette of attending the opera?
Well, first off, we don't have a dress code, right? But you will see people dressed all the way to tuxedos and gowns, all the way to jeans and boots and cowboy hats to tivas and you know and shell jackets. So there, so I say dress however you're comfortable. Um, and again, check the weather report. Make sure you're ready just in case. Once the sun does go down, we are outside. It will cool down a bit too. It's still the desert, even though we're at a high elevation. Um, yeah. Uh,
What about things like when to applaud?
oh yeah. That's a good. That's. I mean, it's important. It's important to remain engaged, right? And it is moving. It is moving. So to allow yourself to be moved. So that's to say, man, if you feel inclined, I would say follow that inclination when there's a break, right? When there's a break, when you kind of feel that and you can sense that it has kind of come to a break within the music before a transition. Um, yeah. Um, some people feel moved during a song, they will stand out. But I guess you won't necessarily get kicked out if you feel moved to applaud earlier. But yeah.
Well, in general, are you supposed to or not supposed to applaud after a song?
I mean, I don't know. I just supposed to, not supposed to. I mean, in a song that you can see that the the transition is happening and is moving in a different way, right? But if it's in the middle and there's continued kind of thing, you want to allow for the singing to continue, the scene to continue, right? But if the
Mhm.
lights go down and the house lights come up, yes, by all means, yeah, right.
That's
You
your big clue.
that could be a big clue right there that you should, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
man, we've even had a scenic transition getting applause, so you know but yeah, uh we kind of want to be mindful. Yes, there is a live performer right there in front of you that we do not want to interrupt. that process. So do keep
Hmm.
that in mind. So you kind of want to
Yeah.
look for some visual clues that will let you know that you're not interrupting this person if you applaud within, like I said, a scenic transition, a lighting transition, then that can definitely can make it, make its way in. But if they're singing and then they're taking a breath, getting ready to go on, you don't want to start applauding at that moment, right?
Mhm. The Colorado Symphony has a great page in their program every time of sort of the etiquette of when it's okay to applaud and when it isn't. And you're not supposed to applaud between movements, but you are, even though there's a pause, but you are supposed to applaud, at the end. And inevitably, people applaud in between movements. And so you'll hear maybe,
They can't help
yeah,
themselves.
10 or 15 people applauding. And I always think about the musicians. I know they're used to it, but it's also kind of breaking their concentration and the mood. So to be sensitive to that. So thank you for those cues about lighting and movement and, different things like that. And also just maybe pause a little bit to read the audience, is everybody else is a big crowd applauding, then it's a good
Right.
time to applaud. But if there's only two or
Right.
three, maybe not. Maybe this is
Yeah,
not the
right,
time.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. What suggestions do you have for making the most out of attending the opera? And you brought up the pre-show. That's a great one, but I know there are some
Yeah.
other things like, how far in advance should you order tickets and when and how should you get up there? Because we didn't talk about this, but the Opera House is not in the city. It's kind of out there, a ways away on its
Yeah, we're
own.
north of
So, and I know
town.
there's tailgating and things like
Right.
that. So, what are some of the things you can do to get the most out of it?
So there's a couple of things. We have preview dinners, so you can actually purchase a dinner on the night of the show. And what I love about these dinners, they are in theme with the show that you're seeing that night, right? And I always talk about this because it was so good when we did Tosca. That was an Italian menu, and it had an incredible short rib lasagna that it was so good. So check out those menus. They are made specifically for each show to kind of go with the theme of that show.
Okay.
And those are available on our website. Check that out. Um, and I believe those pre-show dinners are begin 3 hours before curtain. Um, and but you can also purchase wine to go along with that dinner. Um, Another thing that you can do, and we open our parking lot 3 hours before curtain to allow for tailgaters. This has been a long part of our history because, as you pointed out, we're not in the city, we're outside of town. And this, by allowing tailgating, it allows people to be there and be ready if they want to attend one of the pre show talks, but then also to either pick up a tailgate package from one of our hotel partners or restaurant partners, or to go to the grocery store, purchase your own charcuterie elements, sandwiches, however you want to do it. Just like our our dress, the dress of everyone will be very formal or you know comfortable. I have seen the full range of tailgating as well, from tables and tablecloths and crystal to, I'm not making this up, I promise you, a chandelier. They will lift the back of their SUV and hang a chandelier. I to just people sitting on the back of their truck having a sandwich. It will go the full range within tailgating. We also offer tailgate packages to purchase when you purchase your tickets on our website. You can also purchase, and there's a menu there, and you select the night, of course, of when you are there. And then we have a kiosk behind the box office. But there's also bistro seating around the kiosk as well. So if you don't want to sit in the parking lot, you can actually sit there, and you can pick up your pre-ordered tailgate items from the window there. Take them back to your car. The only rule is if you bring alcohol, you cannot cross from the parking lot and step onto our sidewalk with your outside alcohol. Or if you purchase wine at the kiosk, you have to stay in the bistro seating. You cannot purchase there and then take it back to your vehicle. Those are the biggest laws that we have with that. But yeah, lots of different ways, whether it's the preview dinner that is themed with the show, bring your own, or purchase there. We have a lot of different options for you to be able to sustain yourself before you go and you see a show.
And I like that those also give you an excuse to come early and, get your parking spot too, because I know
Exactly.
people kind of skid in at the last minute, and you should not do that. Do arrive
No, this
early.
is something you definitely want to make a whole evening into night out of. This
Mhm.
is not something that you want to rush into. It's
Yeah.
it's definitely meant to be, well, you can do it however you like. Let's say if you want to rush, go right ahead. But I would say I would say if you really want to enjoy it, get there early and plan on staying, and you can really make the most of it by making your day of it. So I wouldn't even, for travelers, I wouldn't say you want to plan many other excursions that day. On the day that you're coming to see an opera, really plan on that being the activity for the day. And that way you're rested up, you can make the most of it, and you can really be there and enjoy yourself and immerse yourself um, in the nature and in this human made form,
hmm
right?
hmm Oh, excellent tips. That's great. What about attending more than one opera during the season? I know you talked about at the end that there's one every day, but earlier in the season, can you stay in town a little bit and go to multiple operas?
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, the first 3 weeks of August are really designed for you to see a different show. And you can do that. We go Monday through Saturday. So typically the Monday show is also the Saturday show. Um, and we have, wow, a whole staff of people who are set change people. So when one show goes down that night, they're there to take the set down, put the next set back up, rehang the lights, and place them in the next plot that they need to be in. Um, and that is why we're able to do that. So during the season, we have people on staff there at the opera practically 24 hours a day working, and that's how that's made possible. As they typically come in just before the show begins, so then they can change that over that night. So it really is designed those 3 weeks in August this year, starting on August 3rd, for you to be able to see a different show every night, 5 nights in a row. Um, but if let's say you're staying here for longer than a week, you're staying here for a month, you can choose a different package, whether it's a Wednesdays subscription package or a Saturdays subscription package. So you can see multiple shows in that way. And those packages start at 3 shows. Or if you're here for a week or two, you can choose. And I love going to the plaza during the season, especially, is one of my very favorite things to do. is to go to the plaza with our intern and hand out marketing material to just passersby, to different people. And I loved handing the calendar over and pointing out you can see a different show every night, starting this week or next week or whenever. And I remember I said that to a couple, and they said, "Yeah, that's why we're here.
Mm,
We're here from Rhode Island to see a different show 5 nights in a row."
wow.
So
Well,
people are really doing it. They're taking
yeah,
advantage of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just led right into my next question so seamlessly. Let's talk away from the opera a little bit and talk about Santa Fe because Santa Fe is probably my f favorite city in the world, and I'm lucky enough that it's one state over from me, so I can go fairly often. But for people who want to attend the opera, talk about what there is to do in Santa Fe.
Galleries from art, Southwestern art, contemporary art, to jewelry makers, jewelry designers, to other music opportunities, other organizations that produce music in town. They place their concerts at a time to where you could see them. They do other organizations that I know of, they'll do like a noon or 1 p.m. concert. So then you could be in the plaza, go to that concert, have dinner, and then go to the opera. Or they'll have a 5 p.m. concert. So you can see that concert and then still attend the opera that night. Um, Restaurants. Oh, wow. I mean, have, we're lucky. We have some really great places to eat that have been recognized nationally and internationally. So, I do recommend, like I was saying, about coming and either tailgating or doing a preview dinner. But there are so many restaurants in town that have also know that they can time it out to where you can still go and make a 5 p.m. dinner reservation and still come and see a show that night at 8 or 8:30. Um, and you let them know, especially if when you're making the reservation, say, "Hey, we're coming for dinner, but we're seeing Onegin that night." So they know. Many restaurants also create prefix menus, so you can enjoy both. And they'll have those, some starting as early as 4:30 in the afternoon, so you can try and combine them. But Canyon Road, which is right next to the plaza, uh, is, I would say, from what I understand, it's the oldest corridor of galleries and artists in the country that has remained so for this long. So there are a lot of galleries there. Like I said, a lot of Southwestern art and contemporary art. There are also restaurants right along that area as well. Um, it goes uphill. So park at the bottom. Don't tell anyone I said this, but park at the church, walk across the street, and make your way up the road, and just do some window shopping or glance in to and walk in and check out the other galleries. So then on your way back, you're walking down the hill.
We wrote an article
Yeah.
a couple years ago about the Farolito experience on Christmas Eve on Canyon Road. We did
Yes.
that two years ago when we were coming back through Santa Fe, and that was just magical. That was really, really wonderful, especially after so many other times of seeing and walking uphill and downhill Canyon Road, other times of the year. That was really wonderful. So it's another reason to come back to Santa Fe. Do you have a favorite restaurant, either a fancy one or a super casual one you want
Oh,
to tell people about?
yeah. I mean, there's a restaurant that I just became aware of, uh, Tulsi. It's an Indian restaurant. It's just off the plaza. It's across from the Drury in the shopping center there. It's Indian food. It is so good. It is very
I went
good.
there.
You did.
It's so funny that you mentioned that. I went there. It was great.
Chef Patty is
Yeah.
awesome too. He's so cool. He's a great guy. Makes very delicious food, and they have
hmm
vegetarian and vegan options.
hmm
Um, Man, I live outside of town, I live in El Dorado, which is a neighborhood south of Santa Fe, and there's a Thai restaurant here that opened up called Chayo that they're a married couple that run it. They actually met in Thailand. He was there studying abroad, what, nearly 20 years ago, and she was a student there, and they met and they stayed in a relationship, a long distance relationship for a couple of years until she was able to come here and they got married. They have a child and they have an amazing Thai restaurant. Harry's Roadhouse, which is also on this side of town. You got to check that out. Um, Fancy restaurants though, Sazon, can't go wrong. James Beard
Yeah.
Award winner, very good food. Other sort of New Mexican, Escondido is very good. Um, I like Tomasitas also in the rail yard. Go and get
Mhm.
yourself one of those swirl margaritas. They got a lot of different margaritas on their menu. Um, oh, the village of Tsuke, which is just across the highway from the opera. There's a couple of great restaurants over there. El Nido, which is kind of like American New Mexican fusion. They turned their party room into a sushi counter. It's called Sue. They have, I don't know how much it's priced at, but it's very reasonably priced, prefixed sushi menu, and it's delicious. And then, of course, Tsuke Village Market just down the road from them. New
Mhm.
Mexican food, comfort food, and they do wood fire pizza. I lived in Connecticut for nearly a decade, so I got kind of got spoiled there on pizza, the Neapolitan style, which that style is a wood fire style pizza. They do the same thing there at TVM. Only no, it's only after 5 p.m. But you gotta have that. The the wood char on the dough, it's delicious. I love it. And then you gotta get, of course, you gotta get pepperoni with green chilies because it's New
Yeah,
Mexico. Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I mean there's so many great places.
Yeah. And museums and flamenco dance opportunities too.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a really great small flamenco theater on Palace in the plaza called El Flamenco Spanish Cabaret. They do a dinner and show there as well. But you don't have to do the dinner. That is an option. You can just do the show. But my goodness, Stephanie Ramirez is her name. I cannot remember the her partner's name, but uh, she's a great dancer. And they bring in flamenco dancers from Spain and they produce different shows all year round. So it doesn't have to be in the summer. But yeah, no, flamenco dancing, it is so great. It's all over this city. It's been a part of our city for a very long time. But yeah, I love going there. Um, it's so much fun. It makes you feel enlivened. That's the thing about
Yeah.
watching it. You start to feel uh just the fire of it all. You get kind of jazzed up from watching it. It's not just a thing that you kind of just sit back and enjoy. You got to get
Yeah.
amped from it. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a fun fact for you that maybe you already knew. I was just in Spain, in a city called Jerez de la Frontera, which is known for flamenco. And we were at a Tebanco, which is the place where you go to have sherry and some snacks and watch a flamenco show. And our guide said, "Okay, you see the guitarist, you see the man clapping, and you see the dancer. Who's in charge here?" And we all had a different answer. And he said, it's the dancer. It's always the dancer. She or he is who determines the speed, the tempo for everything. And so the person clapping and maybe singing and the guitarist are watching the dancer all the time to know, whether they need to slow down, pick it up, or whatever. So, fun fact. So keep that in mind when you go there and watch that. It's a dancer in charge.
I will.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about places to stay when you're in Santa Fe, because I know the opera has some cooperative partnerships with certain lodging opportunities, right?
Yeah, our opening nights sponsors the Four Seasons, um, and they're near us as well. So they're not within the city limits. They are north of the city on a beautiful campus. Bishop's Lodge is also north of the city. They're not within the city limits either. Um, very near us. You can, at different times of day from their property, you can see the Opera House. Um, and then the Drury is our preferred hotel partner. The Inn of Five Graces is also a preferred hotel partner. They are both on the plaza, on opposite ends of the plaza. And then Two Casitas Vacation Rentals is also a preferred hospitality partner. They manage whew, quite a big number within their own arsenal of lodgings. And you can find all of them on our website. So when you go to santafeopera.org, there's a drop down menu. Click on visiting. And within that, you can find all of the hotels, the restaurants, and many of the things to do within town that we have partnered with that have become marketing partners with us. Uh, Here's a great thing though to think about with the Inn of the Five Graces. Their restaurant is the Pink Adobe, which is which is a very famous New Mexican restaurant, which they're doing some new things with their menu as well. So not just sticking within the traditional New Mexican fare, which they have, but they're looking to do other fusion type things, which we're finding in a lot of restaurants all around the city, which is exciting.
So if a restaurant or a hotel is a lodging partner, does that mean they have any sort of deals or anything, or what does the partnership mean?
The partnership means that they get presence all around our theater, within our program book, on our website. And then if you call the box office and you ask the box office reps for recommendations, they have they have been asked to recommend our partners. So
Gotcha.
that's kind of what that means. And then the other thing that they've all done, the Drury has done this, Inn of Five Graces, Bishop's Lodge, and Four Seasons have all created opera packages. So if you go onto our website, you can click on their logo, which will take you to their website, and then you can find more information about those opera packages that they offer, whether it's a stay or a tailgate package. They've all especially tailored different things for the opera during the opera season.
Okay. Well, so that's very convenient that you can get to all of that from your website. So this is a perfect chance as we wrap up to tell people what the website is, as well as where we can find you on social media, because I'd imagine you're always putting up some timely information as the season goes on, right?
Definitely, definitely. So santafeopera.org is our website. And then to access our hotel partners and our restaurant partners, santafeopera.org/visiting. And then on Facebook and Instagram, you can find us at the Santa Fe Opera.
Okay. Well, Caleb, you've been a wealth of information. Even though I've been a few times, I have learned so much, and I hope our
Oh,
listeners
great.
do too, and especially if they've never been. So I feel all set up to go stay and play and dine and, of course, attend the opera. So thank you for putting all that together for us so succinctly. We always have an associated article that will have a little player, so you can just click on that and listen to this podcast. But that's also where we'll have a picture of you so people can see who I've been talking to, and some images from this season and from the Opera House in general. And I'll include the link to the website and to your social media too, so that people can just click right through on the website. But if you're not on the website, realfoodtraveler.com, you can always listen to our podcasts in all the usual ways you listen to your favorite podcasts on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, YouTube, you name it. We are probably there. So, Kalob, thanks so much for your time and your expertise and your enthusiasm. I love your enthusiasm. It makes me, I'm so excited to go. I can't wait.
Oh, thank you.
Can't wait to go.
Oh, great. I'll see you at the opera.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the podcast, and join us again for more tasty travels.